energized.
Okay, very cool.
Like this. What's up, everybody? Come on, come on, come
Hello,
on.
everybody. How's everybody doing?
Hello. Next week we have the guy who's saying I like to move it, mad stunt man. So you better
Oh, that's
be like,
exciting.
let's get it moving. Emily doesn't have to move, but everybody else, where you at, Boogie? Oh, she's still moving. Hi, Dr. Inez. All right. Yes, you have something to say.
Yesterday was the best coaching I have ever had. I have to go in school and write that down. I was so blown away, I can't do anything until the day to write it in there. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, Dr. Inez coming in hot with the win. I love it. I love it. Who else has a win? Go ahead, raise your hand, raise your emoji hand. I went a little pubescent right there, right? A little high pitched. A little high pitched. Yes, Vanessa, let's hear it.
Yeah, so I don't know if I just slept through the introduction on on Corgi last time, but I'm so glad that she went back over that information because I had kind of pushed it aside and like I'll look at this later kind of thing. And when she went over it yesterday, I was like, oh, okay, I kind of like this. So I started playing around with it last night. Justine was stuck on something. She called me. She says, hey, can you get me unstuck? So we're kind of doing things on the back end too, trying to help each other.
I love it. So just those of you watching live or watching this replay, to give you a little background, one of our core strategists, she was an executive for BET. Stanford University is a client of hers. Netflix is a client of hers. Also, Disney still uses her hiring software and onboarding software, and she's our lead strategist at the DIVA Network. And she comes in and coaches our entrepreneurs that are all over, from just starting to very established brands, and how to think strategically. And what she's best known for is things that take companies 4 years and they don't figure it out, coming in, helping them rethink and get it done in 30 days. So Dr. Inez is celebrating the coaching, the hot seat coaching that she got yesterday, that gave you some ahas and collapsed some time, which is really, really awesome. Abigail, we see your hand up and we see your background, but we don't see you. But come on up. What's your win?
I know you don't see me, and my win is the fact that today has started out disappointing in so many ways, and I showed up anyway. Even though I can't get my camera on, even though stuff has been hitting me in the face all day long, I showed up anyway because that's what you were bringing out of me.
Oh,
That's
I
what you're
love it.
doing.
I love
So,
it. I love
so
it.
there are
Sending
things
you
like
good
some things
vibes, Abigail.
Woohoo. Abigail,
I just
restart your computer and it should restart your
I
computer.
did. Restarted my computer 5 times. I've been
Okay.
trying to get on
You know
Zoom since
what?
7:30 this morning.
Well,
Well,
you
Zoom
know
But
what?
I just want to say this is an amazing community. And even though there's still some things I'm not getting, I'm still not getting the Brianna stuff, but I'm I'm doing it anyway.
You know
And I know
what?
that by the time I get to the end of these 90 days, I will have it.
Woo, 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 woo. Yes. And look, JK, and everybody's eager to solve for you. But let me say, Abigail, you are standing in one of the most powerful things where a lot of entrepreneurs get knocked out of the game. And that is when their emotions or the hard times happen and then they just surrender. Instead, you're going, you know what? I'm showing up because my vision leads me, not my emotions, right? I'm led by the vision of where I'm going. I'm led by the community that I'm locking arms with. I'm going to be here with them, even if I don't feel like it, even if it's a sucky day. You didn't say those words, but so we're celebrating you. Johnny's sending you good vibes too, which you guys don't know. He's our super guest today, which you'll hear. We love you so much. And there's always phenomenal breakthrough on the other side. Also, it's all right that you're not getting it. That's what happens. I'm going to tell you again and again. I get into the most outrageous rooms where everyone is wildly smarter, wildly more successful, and everything practically feels like a foreign language. But you hang out there long enough, and things start to become your new standard and your common ground. So it's all right if you don't get it all at once. It comes right on time. You're exactly where you belong, and we love you so much. All right. Give it up for Abigail for being vulnerable and counting her wins. And that really is a win. Those are some of the biggest wins. All right, Alora, let's hear it.
Well, I had a gathering at my home last night, and Marita came. And I got her in a cat suit. I got her wrapped up in a goddess wrap. She started glowing. I'm going to put pictures up on the community thread. And it was amazing. And there were 4 plus me, and they all want to. And plus, Marita talked endlessly about the DIVA Network, wonderfully. So that was fun. And it's starting the thing that I've been wanting to do. So it like really took root. It was just wonderful. So I'm grateful for
Did you
that.
know Marita before you came into the DIVA Network?
No, it didn't even,
Right.
just like last week, she reached out and said, I'm here local. I want to come to this thing. I shared I was going to have it. She called and said that. And so that was so good. Dr. Andrea and I are just like bosom buddies these days, and we got stuff we're cooking up. But I need help registering. When I go to the register for Miami, it wants to charge me $1,100.
Okay,
So-
let's stay in wins, Alora. Okay, and you take that to customer support, JKN, if you could get her connected to Christine, that would be great. But I'm celebrating that you will be in Miami at the red carpet press parties with FUBU TV and all the celebrities that are coming. I'm also celebrating. Savita said you got her in a cat suit, and Alora's job is to get the ladies in cat suits and dancing. So Marita is in and so Johnny, so you know, Alora helps women tap into their feminine power. And so I love that you met up live and direct, not just online, with women that you didn't know before, and you're having the impact that you're here to have. It's glorious. Thank you, Alora.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Emily.
I was able to give my hairstylist a vacation.
Ooh.
And I helped her like get into her dreams because I asked the question first. I forgot about what does amazing look like, but I asked her, well, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? And she couldn't answer that. And then I went on to the questions of what does amazing look like? Then she started to do that. Then she started dreaming again and really believing that I got her to see and envision, hey, there's more than a life than just being home, because she said, I just like being home, a homebody. I'm like, that doesn't really sound like that's what we truly want in life. So when I started asking her the question, then she started coming up with all these things. So now she's gonna go on vacation.
Did you give her a vacation incentive from your
Yes,
member?
I gave her a vacation.
Yeah,
I did.
awesome. Well, okay, so we got to get started with Johnny. So we're going to take 2 minutes with Melanie and Michelle. Melanie, bring your hand. Okay, Michelle first, then Mel. All right. And what I want to say is, Emily, did you go to your hairstylist and get your hair done? Because you are looking quite glamorous.
Yes, I just came from the
Yeah, give it up for girls love our glamour, right? It feels so good when you refresh. Awesome. I love it. And I love that you contributed to her, because usually the hairstylists are the therapist and you reverse the roles in there. That's so awesome. All right, Michelle, let's go.
Well, first I say I'm grateful because 11:11 my time, and I always have to share gratitude on that. So I'm grateful for you, Adora, and this community. And I have so many wins right now just in my realization and bringing up my whole family. It's really put perspective. I canceled a podcast that I've been waiting for today to record with a speaker so I can go to Bella's state meet. She's swimming in state, so close to Macy Nationals. And this is why I'm putting it to the universe to you, Adora, is because her national swim meet is in Florida the day after the Diva. So if that all works out, then I can probably put the two together. So we're cheering Bella on today to make her national time and celebrating my family today and celebrating being part of the Divas. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Jared,
Yes.
I'm loving this background. I'm loving who you are and what you stand for already, just seeing virtual power networking. So Michelle, what we want to celebrate with Michelle, those of you who don't know, she's Connecting Mama. She's really dialed in that she helps entrepreneurial moms and has had major breakthroughs in her business, but also has started to stand that she gets to be just as excited with her family as she is in her business realm. And so the fact that she rescheduled a podcast interview with a speaker in order to show up for her daughter, that is really, really, really awesome. And I think you're going to see your business life even expand, because why do we do what we do? Like ultimately, when we unpeel it all, it's always for those that we love, right? It's always underneath it is who we are for them. So let's give it up for her. And those of you that can come on camera, go on camera. Remember, know, like, trust. When we see your faces, we like you more. Over time, we can't even help it. It's a subconscious thing that happens. So many of you know that we have releasing at either, I believe it's the beginning of the quarter. We don't have Jimmy on the line. He doesn't like me to give you exact dates, but we are releasing, there he is. Okay, he's like, don't you do it, Adora. Don't you do it. Jimmy is the president of the DIVA Network. Go ahead and bring your face back up, Jimmy. Hi, Jillian. And you're in Scotland, right? Put it in the chat where you are exactly. Jimmy is the president of the DIVA Network. He's the reason we went on to blockchain and why we're going to be able to go into 200 countries. He's also the reason we're built to scale and that we're able to go into Africa officially. Yay, Dr. Andrea. And we're going into the Latin markets and all of the other countries that we're going into. But many of you know that we will be releasing, it's already in your back office, that you can download the DIVA members card into your digital wallet. What we're waiting on is making sure when you share that, everything tracks to anything else you do, so that if we reward you, we do. But inside of that, you will have member perks, right? And many of the founders, you'll have perks in there. Well, Johnny Smecca, who is in my top right corner, wave at them, Johnny, before
Hi, everyone.
I bring him up today. He is an entrepreneur who has, 9 restaurants in Galveston, met his wife in a gym that you owned. I read that, which I love. I'm a gym girl. And so he is one of the people that we're featuring in Dining Divas Texas. And so those of you who come to the filming April 10th, and the mastermind that we do the day before or after, we're deciding that in the next few days. We'll be going to check out Johnny and his family, 3 of the restaurants. But what we're working on is member perks, where if you're a DIVA member and you're in Galveston, you could look in and have a perk at each of the restaurants, whether it's, we're working out what those are, whether it's a discount, a drink with a meal, or whatever that is. But I love bringing to you the people that we align with, the entrepreneurs that are rocking it in life. And as you know, most successful people read autobiographies and watch the stories of other successful people, so you can glean from them what's working. So that's what we're going to do today. It's a living live podcast episode that we're recording. So we're going to go into dialogue. If you'll go ahead and spotlight Johnny and myself. Jimmy, if you want to be in this conversation and ask any questions, you're welcome to. But and then at the end, we'll leave time for Q&A, and we're going to stay in this room the whole time, all right? But those of you watching, you are generous participants. You are not lurkers. You are active. You're blowing up the chats, giving emojis, giving great face, Alora, where you're smiling and nodding and leaning in, right? That's how we show up in the world. All right, Johnny, welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me. This is so exciting. I couldn't be more proud to join you all today.
Thank you. So I want to dive into the story. So I know you have won so many awards. We'll get to some of those later. Really, later I want to hear about your favorite.
Sure.
But first, let's go back to the roots, because I love that your story, like many of ours, is rooted in heritage and history And also those of us who want to leave a rich history or legacy. I think your story is pretty inspiring. So give us, let's go ahead and give it, rather than me giving that story, give us a background on that.
Yeah, I come from an immigrant family, and like all immigrant families, they came to this country to work hard and have opportunity. And so at an early age, that was, kind of what I was surrounded by. My family was very, they wanted me to have a great education because they never did. And so they worked hard to give my brother and I that education. And so eventually, we left New Jersey, which was the area where my mom and dad met at a family dance. Italians got together and introduced their children to each other at these family dances, and that's how they met each other. And they got married and worked hard in manufacturing, the textile linen industry. And so when that kind of changed back in the late 60s, early 70s, my dad saw that it was time to move to find other opportunities. His brother had moved to Texas, to Galveston, Texas, and he visited. And so all of a sudden he came from this world of, big buildings, industry, very tight communities, to Galveston, Texas, where it's, this beautiful beach environment, an open city, a lot of land. And it was very similar to what they experienced growing up in Sicily, Italy. Their hometown of Gela, Sicily, was almost a mirror image, a city that had a seawall to protect it from storms, a refinery in the distance where a lot of the people worked, a port where a lot of people worked. So he kind of felt like it was his destiny, to make it to Galveston. So we moved our family here in 1973. I was 9. My brother was about to be 13, and we worked in a family business. My dad always wanted to own a pizzeria, and he had an opportunity to lease a pizzeria here in Galveston, and that was the beginning of it in 1973, where we were surrounded by my mom and dad waking up early in the morning, taking us to school, working all day long. My dad was the only driver. My mom was about 25, 6 years old. She didn't know how to drive yet. So my dad did everything as far as transportation and those things. And, after school, we'd make it back to the restaurant. My brother and I worked every day to help our family. And, when those were the early beginnings. The story is very long, and there was a lot of sacrifices and things that had to happen. But the truth was, there was this opportunity to join a community that had open arms. There was already an small Italian community of fishermen and shrimpers here. And it was, one of those opportunities where community comes together, helps each other to succeed. And that's kind of the beginning of the story. That's where it all started.
Yeah, I read that you remember sleeping on flour sacks until it was time to go home. And I just want all of you to imagine, that kind of environment of growing up in a restaurant and then like, okay, you're going to take a nap on a sack of flour and then get up and go. It's kind of cool. And I did stay in Sicily for a month in Catania, and kind of went around and so I can almost, and I've been to Galveston, several times, so I can see that visual and the similarity of why that would feel like a home or a coming home in a way if you're going to be here,
Yeah,
And
Gela is just an hour and a half, about an hour, 15 minutes south of Catania. So very close to that area. Yeah.
yeah. And so now let's speed that up. And I know we're going to dive into community and how to build community. We here at the DIVA Network believe that community is the number one thing, more than the greatest technology, a new president, that community will be how we move the fastest and best, is being in community. And they're the people that will let you know where the open doors are, where the resources are, all of that. And so we really believe in community. So I love hearing that you all were drawn to the small Italian community, you came here as a family. And so you grew up in this environment, and then what had you stay, and where does your story of adulthood and moving into the restaurant world really like owning it as your own?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was really a fun time to grow up. I mean, if I had to go back and do it all over again, I wouldn't change anything. I never got to play sports. I really didn't even know the kids in my neighborhood until later, when, my parents let us, ride our bikes to school, or, when I, was able to drive, that I started figuring out, hey, the kids I go to school with actually live, in my area that I can, have, associate with. And so, growing up, we just were in the restaurant industry, and that's what we did. And we worked every day. And in the summertime, we worked full time. And, um, and I have to say that that experience for me gave me an appreciation for people, the people that worked for us, the people that were on this journey with us. And you get to appreciate, immigrants. You get to appreciate people who work really hard, because it's a tough industry, and it's not an easy industry to be successful in. And it takes a group of people. It takes a lot of people. It takes the community. And that's what we got really good at. I mean, we got really good at, and I watched this by watching my mom and dad and how they treated people, and how they would, we're right next to the University of Texas Medical Branch. I mean, it's just a few blocks away. And so of course that was a core to our business. Those people, those students, those doctors and nurses, they would come and eat with us. And as a child, I would see my dad interacting with all these people. And later, I knew what that interaction meant, because those doctors and nurses would come back. This is after I even came home, graduated from college, and came back. But those people that my family interacted with would come back and tell me the stories of how they would talk to my mom and dad, and in their story, you could tell they were struggling. They were just making ends meet to go to med school or nursing school. And my dad would pick up their tabs for them, or my dad would send them a pitcher of beer or something. And those stories came back to me later on. And so you kind of knew what it meant to them. They cared about people, and they gave whatever they could. And so it was a big deal. And that's kind of where I got my experience and what I knew, was important. And so, as we went on, and we that's who we became. And we became this organization and this family that we helped people, we looked after people. And our whole community is like that. It's just not my family, but the community in general here is like that. And so, it's hard when you start your first business, because there's a lot of sacrifices, and we can talk about those. But it's how you get to where you want to go, and then when you get there, how you share it with other people.
That's amazing. I saw you get kind of emotional when you're recalling the stories of people coming to you and
I was trying to hide that.
Yeah, no, there's no hiding that in this space. We're divas, all right? We're like, give it to me, because that's the people in our community are contribution minded. They're driven toward impact. So yes, they have high aspirations, and many of them are crushing it in business, but they're motivated by the positive impact that they are going to create. And so seeing how that moved you, that your parents gave you that legacy, that they were contributing people, that the stories came back to you, and that you got to have that gift of realizing, probably in waves, the first gift, like, wow, my parents were doing all these really kind things, and getting to receive and be the recipient of the appreciation of the work that they did. You got to receive that, but then that being planted so deeply in you, and creating in you the kind of person that you've become in the community, where you're taking care of the community, and also how you see the community. because we usually see the world as we are, right? We usually see in the world what we are.
You're
And,
exactly right.
and so
I totally agree with that.
you see the community as all loving people who take care of each other, because that's who and what you are, and it's what you draw out of people and what you connect to in people that are like you. It's pretty awesome. I would love to dive into how, wouldn't you guys like to know how they do community a little bit more, like things that, because we're in the conversation of how do we rethink community and take it to another level that way, because we believe that if we share resources, mentally, spirit, all the resources, open doors for each other, that each person here, they have a vision for a certain community. And some people, it's girls in Africa who need sanitary napkins so they can go to school and not miss school that week. Some people, it's marriages. Some people, it's women feeling sexy again in their bodies, financial planners. But if all those businesses make it, then the people they have a vision for, that helps cover our world. And if we all lock arms, then we create a movement of, so we're rethinking community, and you all are doing it well. So give us some of the keys that you think.
I am going to give you some secrets.
Let's go.
Things that
Let's
really-
go. Let's
that-
go. Wait, give it up, you guys. Let's go. We want
That just happened. It truly, I think it just happened, but it became a standard for our family, and for the people that now we employ over 350 people now. So, I got home from college, and one of the local people my dad did business with came and had lunch with me. And he was, he was in a social group called the Galveston Morning Kiwanis Club. And he said, you should come join us for breakfast next Wednesday. And he was somebody that I respected, and obviously my dad respected. He was an older gentleman. And so I did. I joined him for breakfast. And that was 1987. So it was my first taste of going to a social group. And they talked about, doing things for the community, raising money, and then donating it back to different charities and different organizations. And it was a mixed group. It was, male and female, not a lot of young people. I was kind of being brought in because they were kind of getting older, and they knew that they had to get a younger generation. I was just out of college. I was about 22 years old. And so that was my taste of being to join a group. And so that was the first step, right? Getting involved in your community by joining a social organization. And my parents were already in the Galveston Chamber of Commerce, and I'll kind of touch back on that. But so in this social group, I get to meet a lot of older, more, people who had already been successful at their own businesses. And so all of a sudden, I'm surrounding myself. I'm 22 years old. I'm probably around men that are double my age and ladies. And I'm the youngest guy there, and I'm able to use them as resources, right? Whether it's advice, whether it's I bought my insurance from those people. I banked at their bank. I did business with them, and all of a sudden, it's like the left hand helping the right hand, and people helping each other. And it was a big step for me, because I started doing what my parents really didn't have a lot of time for. They were, and I'll touch back, they joined the Galveston Chamber of Commerce. If I can give any advice to entrepreneurs, join an organization that gives you the opportunity, whether it's once a week or once a month, to join a larger group. Because what I did was also, join them in their activities. And I passed my card around. I was trying to get us into a new market of catering and different things other than just the sit down business. And so you go to these events, and I'm pretty sure you all are doing that now. But remember, this is 1987, and the economy was kind of touchy at that point. And so I'm meeting people, I'm introducing myself. So one of the first things I tell people today when they come into our community or go to any community is join an organization that gives you exposure for a very nominal fee. I think back then it was $125 to join. And today it's not much more than that. It's probably $300 to join. And allow yourself to, maybe be a little bit more vulnerable. You gotta want to talk to people, but meet people, introduce themselves. There was no internet, there was no, there was no emailing, there was no social media. So everything was by, visual, talking, handing out cards. And it was the beginning of that community involvement that we were just doing because it was natural, to help people and to join people. But it was the beginning of many, many successful years of growing that social environment, getting involved with, the Galveston Historic Foundation. I ended up becoming president of the Galveston Morning Kiwanis Club and running that organization and taking them to new heights and raising dollars and giving back to our community and giving back to others. And so that was the beginning of understanding how getting involved in your community really made a difference. Later on, my brother would say that I was the mayor of Galveston because I knew everybody. Everybody knew me. Everybody would come in the restaurant, and it was a really awesome time to meet people, right? You get to shake people's hands as they're coming in because you know them in your community and they support you. It is the beginning of what I believe every entrepreneur, remember, when you're an entrepreneur, you're risking something. You're risking, financial dollars, you're risking your time, time away from your family, and so everything you do has to have, a return on investment. I promise you, by joining these organizations that are in your community, and some of them are free, just to join, just to go to these mixers or any of those things, introduce yourself, hand them your business card, and do it the old-fashioned way and of communicating and looking at people and talking to people. So, this is the new way of doing it, and I'm so happy that it's, we have Zoom and we can interact and look at each other and see each other's smiles and, unfortunately, our emotions at times.
Unfortunately, he says. I love that. We're like, yes, we're not alone. We love, and we know we're the DIVA Network and the men who support us, which the president of the DIVA Network is a man. And we have lots of great men that we do business with and that are amazing. And we say they're really good for the global nervous system of women, because it's not an us versus them. It's just like the girls' club is a little different than the guys' club. Everything's pink and glitter, and not all glitter. That's when I show up, right? And half of us. But so one thing is the DIVA Network specifically is a global network. And that was part of us taking the TV show and all the best that we get from the TV shows, which we get to sit down with awesome entrepreneurs like you and hear your stories. And we get the camaraderie of driven women being together in space, is that we wanted to open up to the world and take people with us on the journey in an even deeper way by, one, giving them opportunities to meet you like we're doing right here and to ask questions. And then we weekly put everybody into breakout rooms where they're networking. And now we just soft launched in December, but now we're starting to have live meetups as well. Like you heard some of the women meeting up, but we have a partnership with the Orlandopreneurs. And so it'll be in Orlando and DIVA Network monthly meeting, and then DFW Women's Club. And so these opportunities for not only within our network to go out and create in person, ultimately, this is only one of many. You are in multiple clubs, and getting out into community is so important. It's so important. Like this is
That's exactly what you're doing, what we did, you know, kind of raw back in the day. That's what you're doing, right? You're doing these community engagements and these involvements, and people over time will start connecting the dots, and it just continues to grow. I'm sure if I needed some advice, I can reach out to your community and say, hey, has any of you ever experienced this issue or this, problem? And that's why you want to surround yourself by, like-minded people. I think that what you're doing is wonderful.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we just got on our board of directors, the founder of Priceline. He also made the kiosk that you check in with at the airport. And I know we would not be scaling at this level if it wasn't for being in community with Jimmy Azell, who locked arms with us. And, he's been married for 30 years, has daughters that are successful, and he loves what we're up to. So while that is what we're doing, I love what you're talking about, because getting into our local community and getting out there, even whether we do it alone or we go with other Diva Network sisters, is huge. The other part is when you talked about you did business with these people too. Because a lot of times people go into networking events and they're just trying to get their thing out there, and they fly by and then, keep hitting up things. But the real success is that you also were investing, banking with the person that you met, getting your insurance with supporting these local businesses, which is why we're doing the Diva members benefit.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think that opportunity that I had early on, and of course my dad, opened those doors. My dad, my dad was the more social of my mom and dad. My mom was very, very much focused on the business and raising us boys. And my dad, he was a little bit more social. My dad could make a friend anywhere in any country he was, lifelong friends. And so he had that ability. And so he opened those doors for me, and I just went and took advantage of them. I mean, I'll be the first one to say that you must, if you have the opportunity, stand on someone's shoulders. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not embarrassed to say I stood on my dad's shoulders. They gave me the opportunity to do what I do. And so there's nothing wrong with that. If you have that opportunity, right? Or if someone gives you that opportunity, take advantage of it. And so my dad introduced me to the business community. I came home, I was the first kid, or the first, person to graduate in my family, from a 4-year university, and had this great education that my parents had to work hard to provide for me. And so he opened those doors. I took advantage of the doors he opened for me, whether it was the bankers or was the insurance people, or people I just met along the way. It was his vision to make my life easier that gave me the opportunities now that we have, and we do what we do.
I've heard 3 secrets so far. 1, get into the networking events, right? Go into those local. So this is one, but also we're going to have Diva locals, but then go and get out into community. Second is shop with those people, do business with those people, support those people, right? The third
Absolutely.
one that I heard is stand on the shoulders, whether it's what you came in with and it's not unfair advantage, because your ancestors fought to survive, right? And they did the best they could, and whatever they overcame, we are now the recipients of that grace, and then we get to take it further. But not just those, the Diva Network. I saw Abigail say we're getting to stand on the shoulders of the Diva Network right here, and individuals that you met along the way. Are there any other secrets that you want to reveal before we open the room for Q&A?
Yeah, I mean, those are the important things, and and those all have branches, and we can discuss those, how they branch out and open up even more opportunities. No, I think that's a good place to start.
All right. Well, and I love that you didn't anticipate it. It was a natural because I always say this, our kids come in better because they get the best of whatever we've overcome, right? And then so it was natural for you, a lot of what your parents worked so hard to become, but then you grew up in what they became. So then you got to go take that further and do things they couldn't do, which is networking even more and doing business even more. And what you did not anticipate was I wrote it down, many, many, many years of success and expansion that followed when you started going out there and creating those.
There's a lot of stories. I mean, there's endless stories of examples, and I would love if we had enough time to share some of those that you would really,
Give us one.
they'll
How many
pull
want to
out
bring?
your heart.
Give us one. Lorna's going, give us at least one. And
Okay,
how many of
well,
you all want
so-
Johnny to come back? How many of you want Johnny to come back? Put it in the chat, put it in the hearts. Like, I'm not moving until you freaking show him that you want him to come back. I know you all. Yes, yes, we want the branches. Yes, come back. Yes. All right. I need a little more love. There's like 26 of you. I think 7 of you answered. Emily, if you're driving, you don't have to answer. Fire. Oh, Bog, yes, that's someone who was like listening and said, I'll just get in imperfect action. I love that. Yes, yes, hearts. Okay, now Johnny, now we've earned it. So give us one story.
Okay, I'm gonna do my best not to get emotional here, because this one is one of the original ones that to this day it still kind of tugs at me. But so it was the end of the evening. My parents always parked right under the sign that's in front of our business, which is still the same location today. And so my mom and dad are standing there.
Mario sign.
This is in front of Mario's, yeah, Mario's seawall. And so my brother and I are already in the car. My mom and dad are standing outside the car. And my mom just, of course, inquired, Tony, what's wrong? And he just kind of was looking, and he just said, I think we're done. And she says, what do you mean we're done? He says, I don't think we can do this any longer. There's not enough money in the bank, and it's tough right now. Maybe we should pack up while we have the opportunity and move back to New Jersey. I'm sure your family will help us. Of course, my mom, who is she's the leader, the strong one in the family. She said, you took me across this country, you dragged me and the boys here. I had to leave my family, who, of course, she was young, and leaving her family for the first time after immigrating from Italy was somewhat like, are you kidding me? You put me through this and we're going to give up. And this was like maybe the first 2 or 3 months, which, in the restaurant business, you fail. 95% of the restaurants fail in the first year. So this is not uncommon. It's typically, you're not funding it enough, or you don't realize how hard it is and how much time it takes. And that's where they were at. And my mom said, absolutely not. We will do whatever it takes. These boys will work, we will work, and we will make it happen. That's 51 years ago. So that period of time was the beginning of what it took, the sacrifices. And as a young man, seeing that, you get an appreciation of what your mom and dad, did for you. And then that's why you have to grow up to be as good as them, if not better, because they made massive sacrifices. So sorry about that.
Oh my gosh, you guys put your hands on your heart, because we learned from Bob the biohacker, when we're in our hearts like this, it goes 2 miles in every direction. And you just put us right in our heart, right in courage, right in that, like, could have given up but didn't, right in that strong woman who spoke life and resilience into the situation. And 51 years later,
you need that. That's the other thing you need in any, situation, entrepreneurship. You need a great partner. And that's what they were, a partnership. And of course, my brother and I were part of that partnership. I mean, you have to have that, because you have your weak moments. My dad had a weak moment, and he needed to be reminded that no, we'll do whatever it takes to make this work. And by the grace of God, there was some really good, all of a sudden, momentum that propelled them, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, we can make this work. And a year, not even a year later, they bought the business from the people who they were leasing it from. Yeah.
Give it up, give it up, give it up. Okay, speaking of good partners, before I open the freaking floor, because I love this part of the story. Girls, don't you love a good love story? And one that's still working. I love a good love story. So tell us about seeing your wife the first time. She wasn't your wife yet. Let's hear that little bit.
So Joey and I, in college, I began bodybuilding and training and working out, and um, tanning salons just became kind of the in thing. And so my brother and I opened up a tanning salon in Galveston. This is while I was still in college. So my first business I opened, I was 19 years old, and we opened a tanning salon here in Galveston. And so that was kind of the beginning. And so when I graduated from college, there wasn't a gym in the city. And so I talked my brother into letting me to go out to California and meet with the Gold's Gym owners and see if they would give us a franchise to open up one in Galveston. And I had some friends out there that I had met over the years that helped me and introduced me to people. And we got a franchise to open up a Gold's Gym in Galveston. So we opened that gym up.
19 or 20, how old were you then?
I just graduated, so I was about 22, maybe almost 23 years old.
And I'm laughing because Savita said, I knew it. Check out those biceps. That's why I was laughing mid. Yeah. And how young are you? Come on, inspire.
I was 20.
No, how young are you
22.
now?
Oh,
How
how am I? I'm 50. I'm 61. Sorry.
Okay, show us the biceps again. What excuse do any of us freaking have, girls and guys? Jimmy, you more burpees, Jimmy, more burpees. Okay, let's go, John.
Yeah, so that of course, I worked out a lot, or I worked out as much as I could at the time, because obviously I had a full-time job as well. And Nikki was working out at the gym, and I'm on a machine, maybe two away from her. And I turned to my workout partner and I said, I'm going to marry that girl someday. And of course, he just laughs at me like, because here she is, a very pretty. I was too intimidated to even approach her, and of course, that's probably just being a little bit, machismo and trying, just to have a conversation with my workout buddy. But the opportunity came that she was friends with another girl that I knew, and I was introduced to her, and I inviting them back to Mario's after, meeting her for happy hour. I said, why don't y'all come in for a drink? We just started this new cocktail called Italian Margarita. Come give me your thoughts on it. So they came in, and
Smart. Give me your thoughts and leverage. That Mario's was his parents' place, right? He leveraged every unfair advantage. Let me wine and dine you or margarita you. And oh, by the way, I just want your opinion because I love this. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, it was, I was using some of my marketing skills there a little bit, to help out. But they came in, and then, one thing led to another. I invited her back, and we started just a friendship, to be perfectly honest with you. She was in a relationship, I was in a relationship, and we just created a friendship. And, at some point in time, we realized that our relationship was actually stronger than the ones we were in, and we gave it a try, and we're going on 30 years.
Well, I mean, when you say I'm going to marry that girl someday to your boy in the gym, and you're what, 22, 23, that's
Yep.
pretty freaking laser focused.
Yeah,
And
that was a couple,
probably more clear
a
than
year or
any
two later,
man.
but yeah. And to this day, they still talk about it. They still say, I can't believe, when you told me that actually was going to happen. And, just, it was meant to be.
Let's go. Jimmy's been married 30 years too, and his wife's name is Nikki also.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? I don't know if
Yeah.
Jimmy's in the background still or he hopped off. He
That's
has,
cool.
there he is, Jimmy Azell. Come on, Jimmy, unmute. You got to come on for this one.
And I will tell you, ladies, and I believe this with all my heart. My focus, my energy only increased exponentially when she came into my life. I was a little bit maybe taking things for granted at the time. I wasn't as focused, and she not only gave me the courage to do some of the things I did, because there's risk. There's always risk in wanting to do more, or just the whole concept of entrepreneurship. And so I have to tell you, it was like an energy source for me, that allowed me to do the things I did.
Women, come on, just breathe in the good men in the world, right? Not the ones we're just seeing the TV shows about and then the modeling in the world. Like, breathe it in, breathe it in. This is what we do. We collect good humans and keep them. All right, Jimmy, meet John.
Hey, Jimmy.
Johnny, first of all, amazing story. I hope someone today heard this and was inspired. Someone probably even today, whether you're watching this live replay or thinking about quitting, right? And I hopefully after today, you're like, man, I'm going to keep going. And so, Johnny, thank you for that inspiration. The other thing is, I do want to echo something about like your partner, right? I like to tell people one thing about my wife is that she was there when we were broke. Like, she stayed with me. Johnny, you probably know what I'm talking. I mean, like we didn't have a lot of money when we first started going. Grew up in a blue collar, hardworking family. Her mom had been married 4 times. One of the some of those stories, right? And we went off and started trying to be entrepreneurs. We started corporate America then, but she stuck with me when we were broke. I'll never forget that. And
That's a good woman right there.
and now it's a little different, but I mean, I always tell her, I said, like, you could have left so many times, like during the journey of entrepreneurship. She's been there. Jennifer knows she's been there. Yeah, one time, or for a while there, my wife had to clean houses, and it really got to me. And I told her, I said, I will do whatever it takes so you never have to clean a house ever again. And she's never had to do it once I made that decision, because I will do whatever it takes to take care of my queen. And anyways, that's why I worked so hard. I didn't know that was going to happen, but
It's
John,
an energy boost.
I love your, dude, I just love it.
They give you the courage to be better.
Yeah. So anyways,
Well, I'm
John, I
happy
appreciate you.
for your success and for her success.
You too, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, and so
Well,
Johnny, Jimmy
What's
has
that?
paid out millions in commissions over the past several years, and they've done really, really well. And we definitely would not be where we are. He didn't need the DIVA Network. We kind of hooked him in. He was just going to take us on to blockchain, and then he really just, our vibe here is contagious, and he went all in with us and is now the president of the DIVA Network. But you guys
Everything happens for a reason. I believe that. I really do.
Yeah. 2 Nickies, 2 men been married 30 years. And I hope you guys know how healthy this is for us as women to witness and for us to experience, which is your love for your wives and your love for your families, as well as the whole entrepreneurial journey that you gave us. It's it's a gift that is very hard to explain, but anyone who receives it and receives it over time, it reminds me of the woman that was on our Africa call, that what they do is families that have been displaced or children that were orphaned, they teach them fatherhood and motherhood, and they get them in the environment to experience it, so they have the emotional recall, the nervous system, the neurology. And you have a lot of women that have experienced a lot of really not what you guys are showing up as, right? And so when you just being who you're being and loving your families the way you love, and then going out and being successful and doing the things, it is healing. When I say it's healing to the global nervous system of women, especially since media doesn't super highlight men like you, right? Some shows do, the This Is Us, you know, some of those, but it's really important for us to experience, and we couldn't be more grateful for both of you. So thank you for your vulnerability today. Okay. Jimmy, thank you. I know some of you have got to hop. We normally stop right at 12. I committed you till 12, but I do want to open up to gallery view and take 1 or 2 questions. Okay, 1 or 2 questions. Gallery view. Abigail.
So I want to thank you so much for all you said. I had been a member of the Chamber of Commerce and I didn't utilize it because I didn't know how, because I stepped in like something that Adora said this morning. I felt everybody in there was smarter than me and I didn't feel that I was supposed to be there. So it came up in my spirit, Chamber of Commerce, this past week. I think I might have mentioned it on a call. And for you to come in and speak on that, that's like confirmation to me that I need to go and do that. That's number one. Number two, I had a man like you for 42 years. And people would look at me as like they're not out there. And you and Jimmy are proof that there was more than my one. And thank you for just being vulnerable and for being the husband that women out there need, and to let them know that there is more than one and God has one for you too. And the third thing is God brought the woman to you. That's what he did with me. He brought me to my husband. The women are out there looking. When I stopped looking, that's when he brought Mr. Wonderful into my life. So he did the same for you. So you have just been so amazing, and thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing your story.
Any other questions or comments? Question or comment? JKN looks like she's unmuting or doing something. No? Question or comment? Yes, Lorna.
Thank you so much for being here, Johnny. And again, thank you for your vulnerability. And congratulations on all your success. And can you share with us a time, because you were 22, 23 when you started, and it sounds like you've created a bunch of businesses, right? What was a time between then and now that you've experienced failure, and how did you move through it?
Awesome. And that'll be our closeout. Yeah, go ahead.
So, you know, I had an opportunity to open a restaurant in an area that was kind of not available to me for a very long time. And I took advantage of the opportunity, and it was a huge risk. And so we opened a restaurant down on the waterfront, on the port side of the island. And it was very expensive to open. I was trying to get, you know, we do a lot of small mom and pop style restaurants. And so this was an opportunity to do something bigger, and we did it. But and I ended up only lasting 5 years. The good news is that when I created my contract with the landlord, I did 5-year options, which I typically don't do. I usually do 10-year options. But in this case, I said, you know what? Let me not go out too far, because if I'm successful, I won't have a problem paying this exuberant rent for this area. It's down by the cruise ship terminal. There's a lot of business down there. And that's actually what saved me, because I ended up losing a lot of money in that operation, opening it up and then keeping it open. I paid the rent every month, even if I was losing money, because my name, you know, is very important in Galveston. People respect me, and I didn't want to change that. And so it was a tough time. It was named after my dad, and good or bad, you know, I closed it after my dad had passed away. Maybe that was partly the reason to keep it open. I didn't want my dad to see that failure, but it happened. We got through it. You know, we were solvent. We paid all of our bills. You know, nobody got, had to hold any of the bags. It was 100%. But it gave me the opportunity to say, okay, sometimes that desire to want to do more or to be like the big guy, I'm still mom and pop. I still operate my operations like a mom and pop. I know everybody who works for me. I see them at the grocery store. I talk to them. I hug them. I help them. I bury their children when they can't afford to. I bury their parents when they can't afford to. I've lent them money to, for all kinds of reasons. And so, even though I may have failed, I don't change what I do. And that's okay. It was one out of nine, didn't make it. I learned a lot from it. And I don't know, is it failure? Sure, it's failure because I opened a business and I had to close it. But at the end of the day, there was a lot to learn from that failure.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for that question. And then I just want you also as entrepreneurs, and before we love them up as we close it out, is I want you to put in the chat one of your core takeaways. Okay, so Johnny can see that. So what was your core takeaway? But the other thing is, if you now go to Galveston, now that you've connected to Johnny as a human and the story and what drives him, you wouldn't want to go to any other restaurants but his restaurants, right? And so I want you to let that land with yourself too, that often you think that your clients are just buying the product, right? We know they most of all want the outcome. But when you're being authentic and you're sharing yourself, we buy into story, we buy into authenticity, we buy into core values, we buy into alignment. And so that's a simple way to stand out. And I love that you're so community oriented. We learned a lot here, and that your mom and pop mentality has people feeling and knowing and loving and really creating. You create community, and everywhere you go, you're in community. That's really, really powerful. So thank you so much. And I want you to look into the chat. Vulnerability is powerful and helping. Just pushing buttons over here. Okay, thank you for that. Get back out among the people. Go out and join local communities, get involved locally, persistence, take care of your team, engage with your community, treat them like family. Failure is not failure, they're opportunities and lessons. I love the mom and pop style. Your story brought me to beautiful tears and made my day. See you in Galveston.
Yes.
Me too, with tears. I grew up with nothing but my mom and pop businesses and love knowing who I was supporting. Yeah. So Justine.
Well, I invite all of you to come down. I have a storyboard at Mario Seawall on the wall. There's pictures of me from 9 years old, making pizzas, and, to a lot of little stories that I love to share with people when they come in. It just gives you the history of, from this little bitty, restaurant to, what we have created today. And I give it all back to the people. I serve so many boards, and I'm an elected official. I serve my school board, and it's all because I want my community to continue to be great.
Amazing. And yeah, we're filming there April 10th. We're filming the Dining Divas Texas.
We're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yes, we are. And on the 10th, you're opening and bringing some of your community. We'll put up the pink carpet. Some of you divas will come. So we're looking forward to it. Johnny, thank you so much. And everybody come off mute and send them out diva style. Even those of you that are off camera, come off mute.
Thank you all for being here today. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Johnny.
I really appreciate
Johnny.
it.
And Jimmy too.
Thank
Johnny and Jimmy. Jimmy and Johnny.
much. I love that.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao. Yeah.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Wow.